Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed's Avatar Rewatch video. This one is going to be for Book 3 Fire, Episode 17, The Ember Island Players. This one's animated by JM Animation, which is pretty surprising, because, as I said, the Southern Raiders is only animated by Moy, and then it's this one that's animated by JM. As I explained in the last video, I really don't feel there's, that big of a difference, and they definitely didn't really, for the most part, ever seem to treat it as, JM were the, main studio, and Moy were just that secondary studio. It felt like they just had two studios and were confident in both, regardless of kind of what was happening, for the most part. So, that's an interesting one. But, yeah, what an episode to have just before the finale. This is Nightmares and Daydreams executed well. This is a really, really fun episode. It's super funny, great references, but it's not just comedy and, references. There are character moments because most of the humor comes from the fact that it's our characters in the present day watching a play about their journey and seeing them react to kind of things that have happened already in the series and the kind of misinterpretations that people have of certain scenes and so on. It's also the dynamic of for Zuko and Toph, who are and Suki as well, the newer members of the group, them seeing stuff that they were on separate story arcs maybe at the time when something else was happening, and they're like, wait, that's how it happened? It's just really fun to get to see those little references. And then what I think is so well done here is that they basically turn what effectively, is the format of an episode for a clip show, but it's 100% new animation because they basically have the clip show bits be newly animated, but a theater company basically, doing the play of what would have happened. So you have all the stage effects for the bending and so on. You have actors playing, our characters that we know. And it just makes for this really, just hilarious, episode that ends on an interesting note of just everyone has kind of seen their journey. We as the audience have had a chance to, in this really kind of humorous way, go back through the entire journey to see where it started and see where they are now, with the end of the play also serving as this really interesting reminder of they are going into a battle where people are going to die. It's actually quite notable that in this episode they kind of reference the fact that characters have died and killed off. It's obviously primarily here to joke about the fact that they never confirm most of this stuff, but just the fact that they do that and then in the play basically show the defeat of all of our main characters is, I think, an interesting way to kind of have the final episode before the finale work, to kind of just have them, for the most part, they're kind of angry at some of their portrayals, they're a little bit annoyed, but to end on just, they're kind of a little bit wow, that wasn't a very good play. We're in a pretty downbeat way after that one, just seeing their defeat like that. But everything that happens, obviously, is just, it's really great references. So many sound bites from this one. It's, I think, one of the most kind of most quoted and quotable episodes of the show. The whole Iroh and Zuko, I want to capture the Avatar. Well, while you're doing that, maybe I'll capture another slice. That's just a classic line. Maybe we should split up in reference to Zuko's hair being out of control. Hope Tara in this one, Woman Aang, Toph being this giant guy and loving it, while Aang is really, really upset about his portrayal. It's just constantly clever, and it's the exact way to do this compared to, say, Nightmares and Daydreams, where you just had the weird kind of anime references, dreams that weren't really accomplishing anything other than just being weird references. Whereas all of the scenes here they're self-referential. It serves the plot of the episode because it's a play about what happened, but it also at times is showing other characters who maybe weren't around for a scene that, hey, look, this is what happened. So, like, Zuko just reacting to the fact that, like, oh, I know who Jet is. Wait, that's why Jet's not around anymore? He was killed there? And they just kind of joke about, you know what, it wasn't very clear. The Zuko kind of betrayal, the exact moment when that happened, in terms of his talk to Iroh, you know, our characters didn't really see that. So seeing, like, them just go to him, like, you didn't really say it that harshly, did you? And Zuko kind of being like, no, I didn't say those exact words, but I might as well have, the way it actually played out. So, you know, there's moments like that, and then it also kind of has, I suppose, what's effectively, you know, the Toph Zuko field trip moment, but it is more of, like, Toph helping Zuko rather than the other way around. And she even notes that, like, yeah, my field trip was different than everyone else's. It wasn't as good. But I love that Toph, being the one who, for the most part of Team Avatar, has been, like, really the only one of them who's had, like, a notable interaction with Iroh. You know, Aang had a brief conversation with him. But, yeah, it is... Toph has had the most interaction with Iroh of the group. And she, from him, has heard stuff about Zuko from him. So she... like, has this kind of outsider perspective of how Iroh views their relationship, and just kind of gives him a little bit more confidence, like, after Zuko's just seen all of the mistakes he's made laid out in front of him, to have someone kind of just go, like, the way he talked about you, like, I don't think there's any way he would ever just give up on you or ever hate you. You know, when you see him again, you know, like, there's definitely a chance there, if you approach it in the right way, that it could go the way you want it to. And it's just a nice moment from Toph to kind of, you know, show that she remembers that interaction with Iroh and can help Zuko through this moment. But you know, we get those, and the intermissions are nice because they allow for a nice little focused character moment with, you know, our actual characters. Of, like, we get that Zuko and Toph moment. We get like, Sokka and Suki kind of going behind the scenes to give the Sokka actor better jokes, which I thought was a really fun thing. That's Sokka's main kind of concern with his portrayal, is just that the guy's a bit overly repetitive with the jokes and he wants a bit more variety. So I thought that was fun. Then, of course, the more serious part is, I think, Aang and Katara's kind of talks, because I think for Aang, you can tell that the kiss has been lingering on his mind, that for both of them, they've both been aware of their relationship, and I suppose where it was going, where it's been leading for a while now, and obviously they haven't talked about what actually happened. And I think this scene has a lot more impact with the comic from the Lost Adventures, Love is the Battlefield. If you have the context of that in mind, that, like, fairly recently that comic has happened, and it kind of adds a little bit of an extra dynamic to the fact that Katara kind of knows that Aang is kind of wanting a bit of a response, an answer from Katara about how she feels, and Aang is getting a bit frustrated by how, you know, she's not giving an answer, that she's just, you know, kind of dismissing it, kind of just saying, you know, I'm confused, and so on, when I think as the audience we know that she isn't really confused. So it is this weird dynamic of, like, they're both kind of right and wrong at the same time, in that, like, Aang obviously is priority's not really in the right place given what's coming up to focus on the relationship, but at the same time you understand it because we and him know that there is a closeness there. So him wanting kind of just an honest response from Katara, is it really that unreasonable to ask for that? And then from Katara's side, she is more thinking about the timing of this, that, like, we have to focus on the the upcoming battles that are going to happen, that are really important. Starting a relationship now isn't perhaps the best point, but I think the mistake she makes is perhaps putting Aang in a place where it kind of makes her come across as, like, she's not really caring about his or her feelings, or whatever their relationship is, when maybe she could have worded it better, or of, like, given some, like, hope that, like, I do like you, and like we'll address our relationship afterwards, or something like that. Just being like a bit more like proactive with regards to where their relationship is going, rather than being very like, I don't know, I'm confused, and leaving Aang, I think, quite confused as well about like, you know, he thought it's been going pretty well, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you're backing away pretty dramatically here. And I think you could see Aang's frustration building over the fact of like his portrayal in the play as being, you know, a woman, Toph kind of joking about his feminine side, Katara and Zuko, them kind of teasing their romance in the play, and you can sort of see where he's so frustrated. But I think it's just a nice one to add like a little bit of drama into things as well, that, you know, by the end of the episode there isn't really an issue. They kind of do just leave it there. They don't really draw much attention to like, oh, Katara and Aang are like annoyed with each other after this. It's just, here was a bit of a kind of, you know, suggestion about like, there's clearly something that's going to happen with their relationship, but as Katara says here, the timing, that's probably the key takeaway from what she says, is kind of wrong at this point. And, you know, I almost wish they'd maybe gone down the road of maybe showing that Katara understands Aang to the point where she knows that it's better for him to perhaps go into the battle doubting their relationship, and like not having a ton of like, oh cool, I'm in a relationship with Katara, rather than maybe going into the final battle with them boyfriend and girlfriend, and him maybe constantly worrying about her because they have this extra closeness with their relationship now, given how much she knows how he reacts when like the people he cares about get in trouble. So her kind of, in a way, I'm not saying that she's like, she moves away from him here, but like it's a sense of like she doesn't want to really commit so much to Aang here that like she in any way puts what he has to do going forward in the invasion in any sort of doubt. So like obviously the show, it's not really clear if the show is trying to do that or not, but I think it's certainly a way to view it, that she has seen multiple times how Aang gets about the people he cares about, and she knows, I think she knows more clearly than Aang knows. She knows more clearly Aang's feelings towards her than he knows her feelings towards him, and she must know kind of like, if she actually committed to a relationship with him at this point, that it would change things, and that sort of change perhaps isn't the most helpful going into the final battle. But anyway, that's that one scene. And yeah, I think after that it's just like, again, it's just kind of bringing up lots of the gags and the jokes throughout the episode. The Toph actor, the sonic scream to explain the seismic sense, I thought was a brilliant kind of, I overheard how Toph's abilities work type thing. Because at the start of the episode, obviously they explain that like the information for this play, it comes from like cabbage merchants, you know, surprisingly knowledgeable cabbage merchants, like pirates, prisoners of war, and they basically just like, in those little references at the start, are just like, here's some of the really minor characters that like Team Avatar have come across over their journey, and basically they've supplied information to this playwright to write this play. So it explains more or less how like they know kind of so much about like almost everything that's happened. So I think that's just a cool thing. As well as that, at the start we get some nice references of the fact that like the play of course is being performed by the Ember Island Players, and Zuko takes issue with these as a theatre group because he saw them like every year for so many years performing a play, Love Amongst the Dragons, which is a play his mother really likes, but they butchered it, as he says, kind of like every single year. So it's clearly a play he likes, his mother likes, and is connected to the two of them. And I love how in the Search comics we get the full extent of Love Amongst the Dragons, and the connection that it has to Ursa, the connection it has to Zuko, and the connection that it has to the Blue Spirit with the masks and so on. So I that's probably one of the best like extra material from the comics, expanding on like a couple of little points presented in the show and just like making it work. That like Love Amongst the Dragons is this extremely well known play, and that explains why that mask is so readily available kind of around the place, because it is a very well-known play. So that's it. That's just a fun little reference of just that, like, Zuko references kind of happier times, that, like, you know, as much as we know from the search that, like, for the most part it wasn't great for Ursa there. It wasn't just like 24/7, you know, every single day was just awful. That of course there were moments where, you know, they just had a kind of a family time, and it wasn't all about, oh, Ozai is cruel and doing this and that. That even Zuko can acknowledge that there were some happy times, even if perhaps maybe Ursa wasn't enjoying herself on these days even. But Zuko remembers sometimes when there was, you know, something there. Probably when both Azula and Zuko were, like, very, very young. When they maybe couldn't see some of the details of, like, what exactly was the problem between their parents and so on. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to say here, because obviously, like, I could probably make this video really, really long by, like, referencing every single joke that's made in the episode, but I think I covered the main ones that I really like, and just that, like, overall, it is such a well done, like, you know, clip show episode. It's probably one of the best, if not the best. And the biggest example of that is compare this to Remembrances from Korra, for how if Avatar had maybe got a budget cut towards the end, how this episode would have turned out. Imagine that this episode was just, you know, a few new scenes. Maybe they have the Katara and Aang scene, the Zuko and Toph scene, but, like, those two scenes plus just clips of previous episodes, and maybe, like, characters talking over them in the background. You know, they could have done something with it, but it's still, like, wow, a clip show compared to, like, what they actually do in this episode. And just the fun they have with the animation and the stage effects of, like, the benders are just kind of basically just have these kind of bits of cloth, basically, that they're, like, flinging at each other. You know, when Aang is, you know, quote-unquote killed in the play, he's just, like, wrapped up in this kind of giant fire kind of, you know, cloth cloak thing, and so on. It's just really well done, and all the effects. And you see the guy in the background, there's, like, one guy who's running all the stuff, like, the special effects. It's just that attention to detail that makes the animation work in this episode as well. But, yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Ember Island Players. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode, as well as what I had to say about it. But yeah, I suppose that's the video. I'm a bit busy this week. I'm not really sure how much I can kind of confirm about, like, if I for sure will be able to get many more of these rewatch videos out this week. I'm gonna try to finish it up this week at some point, but it may end up being a sort of a thing where, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like, I just put all 4 of those videos out, rather than maybe spreading them out over the course of the week. It depends on how things go, but just know that my plan would be to hopefully finish this up this week, because I don't want to kind of leave it where, like, I've done 3 parts of the finale, like, this week, and then you have to wait, like, until the start of next week for the next one. I kind of want to finish it up this week. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.